I have all the parts for the fuel system ready to go. So today I'm going to be installing them into the K30 Blazer. First thing I'm going to do, I'm going to pull my fuel rails and injectors, and I am going to start soaking my injectors in some B12 from ChemTool. I did it last time. I threw this in a jar and dropped the injectors in it for a couple of days to just remove the varnish and deposits and other thing that can build up on them. Here is the fuel rail I'm going to be pulling out. It's DC. Actually, I'll let the pressure out on the other side of the fuel rail. Pull all these fuel rails, DC all the injector cables, pull the injectors, and soak them. Here are the individual injectors. You can see, not that pretty. Let's take a look at one. So I just ran the fluid through this cloth to get all this gunk out. And look what's already in here. Ugh. You can tell that's varnish, but at least it's better. So I'm gonna just transfer these guys into that now. Now is as good a time as any to do a little bit of cleanup, but do beware that the injector ports go straight into the cylinder. Sometimes it's the little things. In this case, it is the breather valve from JAZ with the check ball that fits in the chamfer. Should I roll the truck again, which hopefully I don't, there will be no fuel leaking out, as this will fit perfectly in that chamfer, stopping any fuel from leaking, because the rest of the fuel cell and system is completely sealed. This is my old sending unit, pump, and gas gauge level. It was all set off this guy right here, so obviously I'm not going to be using that. I have swapped over to this JAZ, and I'm currently calibrating it with my gauge up front. I've got an autometer gauge. It should be reading close to 0 at this point, because I have... Yeah, it's dropping. That's good. With the gauge measuring empty, I can now go turn over the fuel level sensor and get a full reading and make sure that we are reading accurately. Okay, full fuel reading with the fuel gauge level dialed in. So we're good to go. That right there is a rare earth magnet, and I've put a few of them all over the pump. So that will pick up anything that gets in the tank that's metal. So it won't get picked up by my filters. By swapping to this Holley unit, I was able to go with dual in-tank pumps. 2 pumps, I can either run one in backup or I can run them simultaneously. I have chosen to run them simultaneously. So I have spliced 2 of the powers together and 2 of the grounds together. Should one of the pumps go bad, I doubt I would even know. It is a really cool feature. Really comes into its own when you're pushing big horsepower and high gasoline demands. But for me, redundancy and reliability are my main focuses. I did go ahead and replace both the upper and lower seals on the injectors. These are important because obviously without them, or without a good seal, you're going to get a vacuum leak, which is going to lead to loss of power and other issues. Another quick tip, take a little bit of oil and just coat the bushing seal with a little bit of oil, and it should just pop right in. There we go. A distinct advantage that comes with the LS series motors over the small block Chevy is a individual injector for each cylinder. Each cylinder is going to have its own injector. Each cylinder is going to have its own coil. So you get a much hotter spark and you get a much more controlled and deliberate fuel delivery. So I have an old intake that actually came off the LQ9. I pulled this intake off. It's a great intake. But I went to a Trailblazer SS, which is known to be one of the best truck intakes on the market. It's a factory fit. It comes with 32-pound or 30-pound injectors, which you've seen me cleaning, and it comes with a larger throttle body. But for example, we'll use this guy right now so I can point out some of the features, and then we can go see it on the truck. So Chevy moved to this thermoplastic intake manifold a few years back, and it has proven very successful for them. They've done a great job with the high ram, high deck, tall intakes, specifically on the trucks, which work really well because they make a ton of power down low, which is where you want it. So this is the fuel rail. This is the rail that I've replaced on mine, and here is each individual injector. And then obviously you've got the bypass to bring it over. This is my purge valve, or I could also read pressure off there if I needed to. And obviously the throttle body with the drive-by wire. So this is a truck intake, an LQ9 intake. They're not that pretty with all this plastic stuff floating around on top, but they do work really well. A lot of people are known to put these guys on their hot rod builds just because of the power they make. With the rail in, you can go ahead and connect back up the injectors. It's a good idea to keep the rail a little bit loose so you can orient the injectors as you need to, because sometimes the clips may hit the rails. This is the truck intake. It's off the Trailblazer SS, which was a Vortec Max, but slightly hopped up version that came with the bigger injectors and throttle body. I put that on, I threw a tune on it to match, and I think I'm pushing around 450 horsepower or something like that. Hopefully some more coming soon, but 450 horsepower is plenty. And it's all down low, which is great. Part of my objective with the build of my truck is to make it so that I can easily modify, repair, and just do general maintenance on it. So pulling the gas tank easily and quickly was something I wanted to accomplish when I upgraded the whole fuel system the first time. It's working. I can get the tank in and out fairly quickly. Now it does have to be empty, that's the drawback. But being able to access it up top through that fuel hatch, and I'll put the video link up here for that, makes things really simple. And then being able to drop it down and not only get to all the wiring, but actually work on the tank itself. I pull the tank out in about 5 minutes now. So here's the plan for the fuel cell. It mounts right up here. This is the plug that's going to be going into, and the cool thing is I'm going to get to run it up the drive side and passenger side. I'm going to stay outside the frame rails because I just want to avoid the exhaust. It's really tight down on the inside of the frame rail. Here is the passenger side supply, and I've still got a little bit of tidying up to do. I still have my old system on here, but the lines are running in a more hidden place. I'm waiting on a bracket for the filter, and then that's going to get buttoned down. So, and then heading over onto the return side, follow it down. So supply side coming up the frame rail to the shock hoop. What I did was keep it out of the interior frame rail so it doesn't have any potential for heat soak from the exhaust. So no vapor lock, no loss of efficiency due to overheated fuel. Yeah, and then right down into there to my supply, down the rail, up and over to the regulator. So when is this container from?
1960s, my dad went to Baja.
That's bad.
Yeah, they had an old Jeepster.
Look at this thing. No safety valves on this. No easy pour.
No.
Okay, so this is gonna be messy, but we are filling the tank for the first time. So let's, how are we gonna do this?
I was just gonna jump up there.
Okay.
Or you know, let's use this one.
So we had a couple of injector issues. We just, well, I actually just primed the pump. I didn't fire it up. I just primed it a couple times to let it build pressure in the rail. And it started spraying from the injector to rail interface. So we've pulled the rail off. So don't get the injectors confused because I don't know. They're not the same PSI.
Yeah, your yellows are your high PSI.
Oh.
And your blacks are your stock LQ9.
You already knew that, didn't you?
Yeah.
Check out the brain on Duke. Yeah, it's deforming those injectors, which is causing it to not seat properly in the rail. That's what I think's going on. Okay, we have the injectors swapped out. Well, the injector seal swapped out. So we're going to prime it right now. Let's just see what pressure we're at and if we're losing any more gas. So do it, Duke. We're at 35, yeah, 30. Do it one more time. 30, 32, 30, 32. We got the injectors pulled and all the O-rings swapped out, fired it up, set the pressure. Everything looks good. So let's fire it up one more time. We'll listen to this thing purr. That's 16 gallons I just put in. If you add that to the 4 or 5 that were in yesterday, it's holding everything. I am really psyched to have my gas problem behind me. That sounded kind of funny. I don't have well, I might have a gas problem, but the gas problem I'm referring to is the one with my truck. It has been smelling, leaking, spilling over since I messed up the fueling system when I installed it the first time. So having this new dual pumper, vapor guard lines, AN fittings, high pressure regulator, and fuel rail system is awesome. No more gas smell. I can now fill the tank all the way up. I don't need to worry about any of it spilling, even if I roll it, which is a plus. So thank you guys for watching this episode. I have a ton more of stuff. If you are new to my channel, make sure to click that subscribe button and that bell button to get notified of when I upload content. And I got a whole bunch of other videos. Go check this one out. I think you guys will dig it. And we'll see you next week. Merricks Garage.